Welcome back. I got another great one here for you today. Creamy vegetable soup. Now, at the time that I am actually filming this video, it's getting a little cool throughout the United States. Not cold, kind of early fall. But this soup actually could be, made any time of the year. It's delicious, it's hearty, it's just delicious. Creamy vegetable soup. And of course, we're gonna make it simple. You know how I like simple. I also have a couple of really unique ingredients to kind of take this to the extra gourmet level that I know you guys love. And of course, also we are using frozen vegetables. I've got a mixture here of carrots, green beans, peas, and corn. That'll be the basis of our vegetables. But really, whatever you have, if you had some leftover mushrooms in the fridge, or zucchini or squash, or yellow pepper, red pepper, whatever you want is perfectly fine. Just try to dice them up in equal sizes so they cook evenly, okay, if that makes good sense to you. We're also going to be adding some yellow onion that I have chopped up here, okay, and we're going to be putting in some potato. These are Yukon Golds. You could easily use red Bliss potato. You could use Idaho potato. Again, making sure that they are all evenly cut up. I've got these into little dices so they cook evenly in the pan. All right, are we ready? Let's get it going. Let's get our heat going on. And the first thing we're going to do, as we always do, is we're going to add a little extra virgin olive oil in here. And what I want to do first and foremost is get our onions going, because I want to get these to sweat and become translucent and kind of get their flavor going. And I've got a little colander and a bowl underneath here. I put water obviously in these potatoes so they wouldn't brown. Just drain those like so. And I'm going to go ahead and add these potatoes in here now, because the potatoes are completely raw. We're using frozen vegetables, so they're not really needed to be cooked. So that's about 2 cups, and I think that's plenty, so we'll stop right there. And as we always do, once we get ingredients going in here, we want to get the water to be released from the product. In this case, the onion and potatoes. So kosher salt, not just for seasoning, but for also to let out that water. And some black pepper. Okay. Beautiful. Now the other thing we're going to do at this point is we're going to start adding some of our aromatics and some garlic paste. As you know, I always use, we use about the equivalent of 2 cloves of garlic, so it's about a tablespoon. All right. I'm going to be adding some dried oregano, about a teaspoon. Red chili flake, about a teaspoon, and this is optional, but I do like a little bite. Onion powder, teaspoon. And some thyme, teaspoon. All right, those are all of our dried ingredients. We would not want to use fresh herbs in this, because by the time this soup gets finished, all the perfume and all the deliciousness that comes from a fresh herb would be non-existent at that point. So this is why we want to use dried spices. And we're going to turn this down a little bit to simmer. And let's talk about dried spices. As you can see, this size right here is as large as I will ever buy dried spices. This size right here. Now, why is that? Mainly because, all right, when you buy dried spices, to be honest with you, anything larger than this, this alone will probably last you 6 months. That is the maximum this is going to have any decent amount of actual flavor, okay? Here's the deal. dried spices lose all of their oomph after a while. In fact, they just become basically sawdust after 6 months. I talk all about this in my ebook, okay? You can find the link in the description box below, but I go all over about what spices to buy, what size to buy the spices, what cookware to use, how to bake, how to broil, how to saute, how to steam, how to grill, oven temperatures, storing food. But in this particular case, the spices are really, really a big deal. Dried spices have a huge flavor profile to them, but like I said, after about 6 months, they're basically sawdust. And when you're adding them to food at that point, you're not getting anything in that food. So you may wonder, wow, I added all that into my dish and it didn't really even taste anything. Now you know why. It lost its own. So my suggestion to all of you right now is open up your dry storage cabinet, your Lazy Susan or whatever you have. Look in there. I promise you, you probably got some in there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You're not doing anything good to your food at that point, okay? All right, come on in here. Let's look at this, what's going on here. You can see all of our seasonings are adhering. You can see getting some of that water out from adding that kosher salt. Getting a nice sear on this. The onions are becoming translucent. We're going to let this go for about another 3 to 5 minutes, okay? When we come back, we'll start adding our vegetables, and then we'll start adding the next couple little ingredients and start putting this all together as one. Layers of flavor, as I always talk about. Stay right there. Be right back. All right, come on in here. I want you to see what we got going on. You can always tell. Now look, see, look at all that water has been evaporated now. And all of the goodness on the bottom here is what we want. And it smells amazing. So once that water has completely evaporated, it's now time to add our vegetables. Let's just get these in here like so. Perfect. Man, it's looking good already. Wow. All right. And once the vegetables are in, what we do want to do automatically is we want to add a little kosher salt and cracked black pepper. More black pepper. All right. Now it's time for our chicken broth. Now you can use vegetable stock if you want. You could use, obviously we're using chicken stock or chicken broth, either one is perfectly fine. I wouldn't go any further than that. You don't want to use any beef stock, okay, so stick with vegetable. If you really, 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 really want it to go plain, you could actually use water, okay? I've perfectly fine. But if you want more of that robust kind of gourmet oomph, chicken broth is exactly what we want. And as I've always said, what we want to do is we want to just get this to cover the top of our ingredients. So I'm going to say this is probably about 3 cups. Like so. Oh man, it's looking good. All right. So now we're going to let this go for about 10 minutes. When we come back, we're going to taste this. We always want to taste it, see where we are in the middle of the cooking process to, flavor profile, how the layers of flavors are all coming together. This is all about bringing this all together to become one. That's how you create a very, very just amazing flavor in anything that you're cooking, okay? So let this go for about 10 minutes. We'll take a taste, and then we'll go from there. Stay right there. Be right back. All right, come on in here. About 10, 12 minutes now, maybe going on 15 minutes, and we want to make sure our potatoes were nice and cooked, which they are. You see this little frothiness on top? That's the starch from the potato that is added to our soup, which is what we want. Okay, it's perfect. We love that. And now, before we do anything else, we want to take a taste. So we're going to take a taste of our broth. see where we are on the flavor profile. Wow, that is really good. That is really, really good. So I don't think it needs anything. So at this point, we're going to add our cream. I'm using heavy whipping cream. You are more than welcome to use half and half. You are more than welcome to use milk, okay? But I personally believe if you're going to make a cream with anything, heavy whipping cream, because I just want that, that luscious, thick, gourmet, creamy, just kind of, you know, silky flavor, right? And that's what heavy cream will give you. So we're going to add probably about 2 cups, okay? Just like so. And of course, once we add that, we're going to let this simmer for about 10 more minutes as well. And then we want to taste again, because what have we just done? We just added more liquid, heavy cream, a lot of flavor, but it's also going to take some of the original broth flavor away. It's not going to ruin it by any means, but it maybe make the seasonings a little more dense or a little more light. So what we want to do now is we want to let this go for 10 minutes, bring all the flavors together again. If we were to just taste it now, we wouldn't really have a full picture in our palate of exactly what's going on. So let's just go for 10 minutes, taste again, check the flavor profile, and then we will thicken it up. I'll show you how we're going to do that. Today we're going to be using a cornstarch slurry. I'll show you how to make that. I'll show you exactly how to add this in. And then at the very end, I have a couple of little ingredients that we're going to add to the very end. They're going to make this just jump off the spoon and into your mouth. Stay right there. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's come on in here. Let's look at this. Nice little small simmering of a boil. We want. Beautiful. Oh, it looks so good. So now we want to taste again. We want to see where we are. Now that that cream has been incorporated, added another layer of flavor, but we want to make sure our seasonings are on point, okay? And as I thought, delicious, but a little more kosher salt and some black pepper. Not too much black pepper because I can really feel the heat already coming from what we had before, which was those chili flakes are coming through. And that's what I love. I can actually taste the chili flake on the back of my palate right now. What is that telling me? It's telling me that the layers of flavor are starting to come through. That's what I love so much about cooking. All right, so now what we want to do is keep this going as a simmer, all right? And what we want to do now is I'm going to make our cornstarch slurry. I've got about half a cup of cornstarch, regular water. Just put this in here. And you want to add enough water until you get the consistency of glue. I want to make sure it gets all incorporated. Make sure all the powder, look at that, just like that. Now, anytime we add a thickening agent of any kind, cornstarch slurry, a regular flour and water slurry, or probably the most popular, a roux, you know my secret. Never add the liquid to the thickening, add the thickening to the liquid. So, with that said, we've made our cornstarch slurry. But before we add it, we want to make sure that our soup or whatever we are trying to thicken is at a full boil. That is the most important thing that we can do. Now I'm looking for my whisk, and I will get it in a second. Go. Whisk. And so now this is at a full boil, and we will slowly start adding our slurry. And you can tell how thick it's getting. If we were to add this and it wasn't boiling, we wouldn't be able to tell. You see how thick that got? So quickly. I'm going to turn the heat completely off at this point. Oh my goodness, this looks amazing. And it didn't take much, did it? Look at that. Oh, goodness. Now, the heat is completely off, but it's still cooking. Residual heat is real, right? You'd be surprised how long this is going to continue to cook. So just turn the heat off and let this go. It's still all coming together as one and creating this amazing concoction. Creamy, delicious vegetable soup. Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to let this go without the heat about 5 minutes. I want to cook out all of the cornstarch slurry, okay? That's the purpose of this. And you don't need any heat to do that. It'll cook out just in the residual heat. Especially cooking in a cast iron skillet, these hold massive heat, okay? Let this go for about 10 minutes, cook out all the starch, all right? We'll take another taste, we'll bowl it up, and then I've got a couple of ingredients, as I promised you, that I want to add to the very end that are just going to take this to another level. Please don't go anywhere. I will be right back. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. Come on in. Look at this. Let's taste one more last little taste to make sure our starch is completely cooked out. Look at that, nice and look at that, perfect, right? Look at this. Coats the back of the spoon. Oh, that looks so delicious. Let's taste it. Boy, that's good. A little more kosher salt. This is why tasting is so important. You don't need any more pepper. All right. Now, the very last minute, I'm going to add something that truly, if you do this, you're going to take it to a whole nother level. All right. I've chopped up some sun-dried tomato. All right. Oh my goodness. This just takes this creamy vegetable soup to another level. Please share this with your friends. When you make this, they're going to say, what is in that? What is in that? Oh, it just does something to it. And you want to add it the last minute, right? Another layer of flavor is what we're looking for. We're also going to add a mixture of green onion and parsley, and I'm going to use about 1/4 cup and save the rest for garnish. Just like so. And as I've always said, do not run away from fresh herbs because they have such an earthy balance to them, which adds such an amazing flavor to anything that you're cooking. However, when you add your fresh herbs is the most important thing, right? You see where I'm adding them at the end. Otherwise, it's going to lose all the perfume. It's going to lose all the balance. It's going to mess up. Just, you don't want that. So timing is everything. All right. Now, the very last thing we're going to do. Unsalted whole butter. This is my second little itty bitty trick. We've got about a half a stick unsalted whole butter. Between this and that sun-dried tomato, oh baby, you have no idea what we are creating. Look at that. And you just let that butter add its own layer of flavor. Oh, goodness. All right. Are we ready? Let's plate this up. Bowl this up, I should say. Because I think we are in good shape. And then at the very, very last minute, I've got some Pecorino Romano cheese. The tangy, earthy cheese. And you could use any cheese at this point, but I love the Pecorino Romano. But Parmesan is fine as well. And this is just the last little itty bit. Goes on top like so. And a little bit more fresh herbs. And look at that. A beautiful, creamy vegetable soup fit for a king or queen as you are. Gourmet beyond belief. Let's take a taste. Gotta do it. Oh my goodness. You just don't know. That is so unbelievably delicious. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I gotta go back for more. That is fantastic. All the flavors are there. The vegetables, frozen. The potatoes are cooked perfectly. The cream is balancing out the stock. The stock is helping with the cream. The sun-dried tomato, I just got a bit right there. Woo! Oh, so good, so good, so good. Listen, get yourself some frozen vegetables, some chicken stock, some cream. Get the spices. This will take you about 45 minutes to make. This pot will probably feed 6 to 8 people. Freeze it if you have leftovers. It's great. A couple days, 3-4 weeks later even. You're going to really enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Creamy vegetable soup. I know you're going to love making it. I want to hear how yours turned out. And I can't wait to see you on the next video. And remember, until next time, eat well and stay healthy.